I'm Azaria Tagaya, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Malaysia to use Arab Islamic Summit as avenue to propose full support for UNRWA to carry out mandate in Palestine. And probe on Khazanah and PNB's investment loss, MACC raids 4 business premises. Good morning. Malaysia will use the upcoming Arab Islamic Summit as an avenue to propose that full support be given to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, to effectively carry out its mandate in Palestine. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said this support includes providing social services and humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people in the occupied Palestinian territories, ensuring that these efforts are upheld and strengthened.
Hadiran saya ke sidang kemuncak keempat ini adalah membawa mandat Dewan dan rakyat untuk mengambil tindakan bagi menghentikan kekejaman berterusan Israel ke atas rakyat Palestin, pencerobohan dan pemusnahan pusat-pusat ibadah, serangan terbuka ke atas wilayah di Lebanon dan Iran, termasuk pembunuhan kejam ke atas Ismail Haniyah dan Yahya Sinwar.
The Prime Minister said this during a special session in the Dewan Rakyat on Monday. He added one approach that could be taken is for the summit to support the mediation efforts for a ceasefire by the United States, Egypt and Qatar. The summit would discuss the development of an action plan and identify concrete steps towards achieving Palestinian independence within a reasonable and clear time frame. As a country that upholds the principles of justice and international law, Anwar stressed that Malaysia is committed to advocating for the rights of Palestine as a sovereign and independent state, as well as for a fair and final resolution. Meanwhile, Malaysia has prepared a draft resolution for the United Nations General Assembly. Among others, it suggests that Israel be removed as a member of the organization should there be a violation of laws, rules and decisions in issues involving Palestine. The Prime Minister told the Dewan Rakyat that the draft resolution is in the negotiation process and is expected to be tabled at the UN General Assembly for approval soon. He explained that on October 31st, Malaysia joined the core group to prepare a draft resolution of the UN General Assembly requesting an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice regarding Israel's obligation to allow UN activities and presence. Once approved, the resolution is expected to be the legal basis for UNRWA to continue providing basic services such as education, health treatment and humanitarian aid, which had benefited over 6 million Palestine refugees in Gaza, West Bank, Jordan, Lebanon and Syria.
Dari segi ketegasan, saya bukan nak astagfirullahalazim, bukan nak takabur. Saya telah mengambil langkah yang melampaui kesanggupan banyak negara-negara. Ya. Dan ramai rakan-rakan di negara yang mengingatkan saya tentang risiko ini. Pagi tadi saya berbincang dengan Menteri Luar. Now, Anwar later at night arrived in Shanghai for a 4-day official visit to China, marking his third trip since taking office in November 2022. He landed at Shanghai Hongqiao International Airport at 9:50 p.m, accompanied by, among others, Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Mohamad Hassan and Human Resources Minister Stephen Sim. Anwar was welcomed by Shanghai Deputy Mayor and Minhang District Party Secretary Che Yujian and Malaysia's Ambassador to China, Datuk Norman Mohamad. During his visit, Anwar will attend the 7th China International Import Expo, CIIE, where Malaysia has been recognized as the country of honor. Anwar is scheduled to meet with Premier Li Qiang on Tuesday to discuss bilateral matters. On Thursday, Anwar will have a courtesy call with Xi Jinping in Beijing, where he is expected to invite the Chinese president to attend the ASEAN Summit and the ASEAN GCC Summit next year. China has been Malaysia's largest trading partner for 15 consecutive years since 2009. All natural gas vehicles or NGVs will no longer be allowed on Malaysian roads or be registered effective July 1st next year. With this new development, the government has launched aid packages to help NGV vehicle owners transition to alternative fuels. The aid packages are aimed at NGV taxi drivers, petrol-powered vehicles modified for dual fuel use and imported vehicles designed exclusively for NGV operation.
Kos untuk menukar balik menggunakan petrol ditanggung oleh pihak Petronas. Dan on top of that, mereka diberikan satu voucher RM3,000 untuk mereka beralih menggunakan minyak. Jadi untuk pemandu-pemandu taksi, dia tak ada kos tambahan.
A one-off payment is also offered to owners of mono-fuel NGV vehicles based on their current market value. Vehicle owners accepting the offer must send their vehicle to a licensed, authorized automotive treatment facility for disposal. Records over the past 3 years show that there are some 44,000 active NGV vehicles registered in the country. The number represents just 0.2% of the total registered motor vehicles in Malaysia, excluding motorcycles. Investigators from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC has simultaneously carried out searches at 4 locations on Monday in relation to their investigation into Khazanah Nasional and Pemodalan Nasional Berhad PNB's 43.9 million ringgit investment loss in Fashion Valet. Investigators collected several financial documents from Fashion Valet, the Finance Ministry, as well as the Khazanah and PNB offices. One of the locations searched on Monday was Fashion Valet's headquarters in Bangsa. A video of the search was also uploaded to MACC's social media. A team of MACC officers entered the premises and inspected several documents regarding the investments of the 2 government-linked companies. The investigation is being conducted under Section 18 of the MACC Act. On October 31st, Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil ordered Khazanah, PNB and Fashion Valet to provide an explanation regarding the 43.9 million ringgit investment loss experienced by the 2 GLCs in Fashion Valet. He said the probe is crucial as it involves public interests and public funds. Meanwhile, MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki, when contacted, confirmed the presence of MACC officers at the 4 locations on Monday.
Kita menjalankan siasatan seperti mana biasa dengan mengambil dokumen-dokumen daripada beberapa tempat lah. Daripada Kementerian Kewangan, daripada Khazanah sebagainya. Jadi kita bukanlah kita pergi serbu ya. Jadi kita minta kerjasama daripada pihak-pihak berkenaan. Jadi di MOF kita jumpa pegawai dia ambil dokumen dan Khazanah begitu jugalah. Dan juga termasuk juga Fashion Valley kita dapatkan kerjasama daripada pihak yang mengendalikannya syarikatnya sekarang kerana syarikat ini telah diambil alih oleh pihak lain dah mulai pada Februari 2024.
He added that so far the MACC has yet to record statements from any individuals, including entrepreneur and Fashion Valet co-founder Datin Vivi Yusof and her husband Datuk Fatzaruddin Shah Anwar. Police have confirmed that the Malaysian, whose personal MyCard and driving licence were reportedly discovered on a battlefield in Ukraine, has been identified as a mercenary. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Razaruddin Hussein said that investigations revealed the 20-year-old man is alive and well. When contacted by New Straits Times, Razaruddin explained that the student has been in Ukraine since April and had undergone military training. He added that the man was believed to be the only Malaysian serving in the Ukrainian military and had applied for the mercenary role online. Six Malaysians, including a well-known singer who were arrested for alleged drug possession near Sungai Golok last week, will be detained by Thai authorities for 3 months. The Narathiwat Provincial Court granted Thai police the extension at around noon on Monday to allow them to investigate the case further. The 6 suspects have since been transferred to Narathiwat prison. According to a court spokesperson, the detention would allow for the suspects to be interrogated every 12 days during the period. The spokesperson added that police could only advance the case once sufficient evidence had been gathered. The suspects' families, however, may apply for bail, although the amount would be up to the court to decide. During their appearance on Monday, a crowd of more than 50 people had gathered outside the court, including fans of the singer from both Malaysia and Thailand. On Saturday, it was reported that Thai police had nabbed a female singer who is in her 30s, along with 2 women and 3 men aged between 25 and 32 at about 6 a.m. in a hotel room near Sungai Golok. Authorities also uncovered 6,000 yaba pills. The 6 are believed to have crossed into the border town for leisure during the Deepavali holidays. Malaysian public listed companies PLCs showed progress in adopting the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance MCCG. According to the Securities Commission, SC's Corporate Governance Monitor 2024 report, there was a 90% adoption rate for 30 out of the 48 best practices. However, the report highlights 3 critical areas that require further improvement: refreshing board composition, enhancing shareholder participation, and deeper integration of sustainability governance practices. Notably, the report also noted a significant uplift in sustainability governance, with more than 96% of companies now adopting sustainability issues. SC Chairman Datuk Muhammad Faiz Azmi said that as Malaysia strives towards a more inclusive and sustainable economy, the SC would continue supporting companies in adopting practices that deliver long-term value for businesses and the wider community. The influx of multinational companies seeking regional headquarters in Kuala Lumpur is contributing to a more competitive office landscape. Global property consultancy Nightline said it remained positive on the office market outlook, with notable multinational companies expanding and setting up business in Malaysia, especially Kuala Lumpur. It attributed the trend to Kuala Lumpur's competitive real estate costs and welcoming business environment. Despite higher vacancy rates among Asia-Pacific region, KL City continues to show steady signs of improved occupancy rate and rental rates of prime-grade buildings. Malaysian property owners in Australia, particularly in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, will face significant challenges due to newly introduced surcharges on foreign-owned real estate that will take effect from January 1st, 2025. According to the Register of Foreign Ownership, 1,703 property purchases by overseas buyers in Victoria during the 2022 financial year indicate that the changes will impact a substantial number of Malaysians. The latest Australian tax regulations are putting enormous financial pressure on foreign property investors, particularly those from Malaysia. The penalties for non-compliance add an extra sting to many foreign property owners unaware of the surcharges. Now, in the United States, no one knows how Tuesday's presidential election will turn out, but the Federal Reserve's move 2 days later is much easier to predict. With inflation continuing to cool, the Fed is set to cut interest rates for a second time this year. The Federal Open Market Committee is set to unveil the rate decision 2 days after the polls close. Fed officials look set to push through with the quarter-point cut, a return to a more measured pace after September's heftier half-point slash. This would edge the federal funds rate down to a new target range of 4.5 to 4.75%. Verstappen nears 4th straight title. Formula One action after this short break.
Istimewa MHI minggu ini.
Kenali aneka jenis cendawan dan khasiatnya.
Strok dan angin amar, apakah punca dan rawatannya?
Semakin meningkat kes perceraian. Adakah puncanya lelaki atau wanita? Kita kupaskan bersama.
Hukuman jenayah bagi pesalah pesakit mental. Apa yang kita perlu tahu?
Juga bajet perkahwinan dalam soal wang.
Malaysia hari ini Isnin hingga Jumaat jam 10 hingga 11 pagi.
Di TV3 dan ditonton.
Alah, dah habis tak sempat nak tengok.
Drama TV3 Mak? Tengok je lah, tonton.
Telefon nak buat?
Telefon Mak. Mula-mula Mak buka tonton, lepas tu tekan sign up here untuk buat akaun baru. Isi nombor telefon, email dengan password. Masukkan nombor TAC dan siap.
Ya, senang je. Jadi tengok dasar? Boleh lah.
Jadi dah drama Mak tu.
Apa yang diorang misal ni lah? MHI pukul 10? Apa yang pukul 10?
Dah pukul 9 Nas, kita dah lambat.
Gila, lagi setengah jam kita bersiaran. Mana sekarang?
Tenang, kita kan sekarang dah bersiaran pukul 10 pagi.
Ya ke?
Ni, dah 9.30 lah. Cepat sikit, kita lambat dah.
Awak gimana? Kita kan dah start bersiaran pukul 10.
Pukul 10?
Ya betul, mulai 1 November, MHI akan mula bersiaran pada jam 10 hingga jam 11 pagi.
Jangan lupa terus bersama kami dengan pelbagai perkongsian menarik di TV3.
Dan stream melalui tonton.
On to sports now. Football, the German Bundesliga. Tim Kleindienst provided 3 assists as Borussia Mönchengladbach secured an emphatic 4-1 victory over Werder Bremen. The match exploded into life in the 11th minute when Gladbach's Alisson player capitalized on a Bremen error, slotting home after a clever assist from Tim Kleindienst. Bremen found themselves 2 goals down just a minute later as Marco Friedl inadvertently turned the ball into his own net. Gladbach delivered another crushing blow as the first half drew to a close, Frank Malaysia finding himself on the end of yet another Kleindienst assist. Bremen's hopes of a comeback were crushed in the 67th minute when substitute Kevin Stoger added a 4th for Gladbach. Kike Top scored a consolation goal in the 75th minute for Bremen. The visitors then found themselves 1 man behind when Mitchell Weiser was shown the red card following a second yellow offence. With the win, Gladbach climbed to 9th in the table with just a point ahead of Werder Bremen. Moving on to Formula One, the Brazilian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen increased his lead in the standings with a 19-second victory on Sunday to move closer to a 4th straight World Drivers' Championship title. Despite starting 17th on the grid and racing in wet conditions, the Red Bull driver secured his 8th win of the season, extending his lead over Lando Norris to 62 points, despite Norris starting on pole and finishing 6th. In one of the best drives of his career, Verstappen set the fastest lap of the race 17 times, despite the wet weather, a red flag and 2 safety car periods. 2 Alpine drivers, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, competed the podium, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc, who started the race with a long shot at the driver's title, finishing 5th. The next race will be hosted in Las Vegas on November 23rd. Trump and Harris in final stretch deadlock. This and more from the foreign front when we come back.
Yang lebih muda ke yang lebih berusia? Pening lah.
Awak ni apa jodoh ke? Mana satu pilihan anda?
Daripada sebatang pokok pisang boleh dijadikan pelbagai menu masakan.
Gulai pisang ikan masin masak lemak umbut, kerabu jantung pisang. Ya Allah, sedapnya.
Pening juga kalau berhadapan dengan keluarga yang toksik.
Sejauh mana dia boleh memberi kesan kepada mental?
Kenapa sekarang ni semua orang mudah untuk meleraikan ikatan perkahwinan?
Cerai, penyudah atau masih ada harapan?
Bagaimana pula dengan pasangan anak mak?
Itu kena tunggulah hari Jumaat.
Semuanya di WHI TV3.
Dan anda boleh stream ditonton.
Kalau satu pukulan pun kita boleh menjerit, apatah lagi sampai 117 kesan.
Seorang wanita ditemui mati dipercayai dipukul suaminya di sebuah rumah di ladang Sengat, Simpang Pulai, Perak.
Jadi kamulah suspek, betul? Terus dia meraung dan mengaku dia adalah pembunuh. Apa yang kelakar sangat tu, Kak? Ni tengah tengok drama baru dekat tonton ni. Macam seronok je cerita ni. Kalau nak tengok kat TV, boleh tak?
Boleh je, Mak. Cari aplikasi tonton. Dah jumpa tu, tinggal buat turun je. Dah buka tonton, tekan butang sign in, nanti dia keluar macam ni. Dia ada bagi link. Tapi nak senang, imbas je kod QR ni. Masukkan je ID dengan password. Sekarang ni tinggal cari senang dan main drama.
Lebih segar, lebih dinamik. Laporan komprehensif menghidupkan pagi anda.
Buletin pagi dengan waktu yang baharu. 9.30 pagi setiap hari bermula 1 November.
The 2024 U.S. election. With just 1 day remaining until Election Day, recent polls showed that the Vice President Kamala Harris held a narrow 1 percentage point lead over Republicans Donald Trump. This despite both candidates effectively tied in certain states, including Pennsylvania, with each receiving 48% of the vote. Harris's lead, however, was shrinking, indicating that either candidate has a strong chance of winning. Competition was intensifying in the 7 swing states as Harris held a narrow lead in Michigan and Wisconsin with margins of approximately 0.8 points and 0.6 points respectively. Trump, on the other hand, was gaining ground in Arizona, where he had a 2.5-point advantage over Harris, while his lead in North Carolina and Georgia hovered at about 1.5 points. On top of that, Trump maintained a 0.9-point advantage in Nevada and held a slim margin of 0.3 points in the crucial state of Pennsylvania. Harris was expected to spend the whole day campaigning in the Rust Belt state of Pennsylvania, culminating in a huge rally in its biggest city, Philadelphia, featuring singer Lady Gaga. The Democratic nominee who campaigned in Michigan on Sunday, a state with a significant Arab American population, tried to reach voters disgruntled by the ongoing genocide in Gaza, pledging to do everything in her power to end the war and to secure the release of hostages. Trump, on the other hand, was scheduled to tour 3 different battlegrounds, making appearances in North Carolina, Pennsylvania and Michigan. The former president started his campaign in Lititz, Pennsylvania on Sunday, where he complained about gaps in the bulletproof shield surrounding him and suggested he would have no concerns about reporters being shot at if there were another assassination attempt against him. So far, more than 78 million Americans have already cast early ballots. Harris and Trump have been running neck and neck for weeks. National and swing state polls have tightened as November 5th draws closer, so there could be very narrow margins of victory in several places, which may require votes to be recounted. It is also possible that some results may come in more slowly this year due to changes in how individual states, including all 7 swing states, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, that will ultimately decide the race, have administered their elections since 2020. On the other hand, vote counting has been sped up in places like Michigan, and far fewer votes will be cast by mail this time than in the last election, which was held during the COVID pandemic. Across the country, the first polls will close at 6 p.m. local time on Tuesday, and the last polls will close at 1 a.m. local time on Wednesday. This means there are a number of possible outcomes: a winner declared on election night, the next morning, or possibly days or weeks later. Based on the 2020 election, US TV networks did not declare Joe Biden the winner until late morning on November 7th, 4 days after the election ended. The president-elect will begin their term in office after being inaugurated on January 20th, 2025 in the grounds of the US Capitol complex. Authorities in India's capital and surrounding areas handed out fines to the owners of thousands of vehicles and construction sites for infringing pollution rules in a bid to counter a slump in air quality during the last 3 weeks. Officials said almost 60,000 vehicles and more than 7,500 building sites were fined as the Central Pollution Control Board rated Monday's conditions very poor with a score of 373. The Commission for Air Quality Management said as many as 54,000 of the vehicles lacked a pollution under control certificate showing permissible levels of emissions. Air quality in the region is expected to stay very poor until Wednesday and is likely to range from very poor to severe for the subsequent 6 days. At least 10 people have died after a series of volcanic eruptions took place in eastern Indonesia, spewing fireballs and ash on surrounding villages and burning down several houses. The eruption of Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki, a 1,703-meter twin volcano located on the popular tourist island of Flores, took place just after midnight on Monday, forcing authorities to evacuate several villages. The country's disaster mitigation agency, PNPB, confirmed the death toll and said that 10,295 people from 6 villages of Wulanggitang district and 4 villages in Ilebura district had also been affected by the eruptions. The eruption had also caused some wooden homes to catch fire, and the ground was pockmarked with holes caused by flying molten rocks. The volcanology agency, meanwhile, has increased the volcano's alert status to the highest level and has more than doubled the exclusion zone to a 7-kilometer radius as eruptions became more frequent. A bus in India plunged into a deep Himalayan ravine on Monday, killing at least 36 passengers and injuring several others. It was reported that the bus, filled with over 40 passengers, was traveling through a treacherous mountainous route when it lost control and fell into a ravine near Almora. According to authorities, rescue operation had been completed and all injured passengers were undergoing treatment at nearby hospitals. Uttarakhand's chief minister has ordered an investigation into the cause and cited the challenging mountainous terrain and poor road conditions as common factors of such accidents. Israel has officially notified the United Nations of its decision to cut ties with its Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, as another UN agency warns of an impending famine in genocide-ravaged Gaza. In a statement on Monday, the Israeli Foreign Affairs Ministry said it cancelled a cooperation agreement from 1967 which provided the legal basis of the country's relations with UNRWA. Its Foreign Minister, Israel Katz, said UNRWA, the organization whose employees participated in the October 7th massacre and many of whose employees are Hamas operatives, is part of the problem in Gaza Strip and not part of the solution. The Israeli parliament last week adopted 2 controversial bills banning UNRWA from operating on Israeli territory, closing its premises in the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem and Gaza. Meanwhile, the Zionist military claimed it had killed a top Hezbollah commander it accused of overseeing rocket and anti-tank missile attacks against Zionist forces in southern Lebanon. It said the Hezbollah commander of the Barachit area in southern Lebanon, Abu Ali Rida, was eliminated in an airstrike without specifying when he was killed. As Nightline comes to a close this time around, let's take a look at the Bran Castle in Romania, renowned for its resemblance to Count Dracula's castle, as it welcomed costume tourists in search of a true Halloween experience. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.